This video is to help you with number 3 on CR Helper number 25. It says, which of the following statements is true? This is the actual problem on your CR, so I'm not going to walk you all the way through this problem. I'm just going to give you some helps and supports along the way. So first of all, in this problem, we're just comparing mixed numbers. So one thing you need to remember is that if you see this symbol, that symbol would be is greater than. And if you see this symbol, that symbol means is less than. So that's important. If you're unsure about the symbols in between, it would make this problem difficult. The next order of business is to be able to actually compare mixed numbers. Anytime you want to compare a fraction, you really need a common denominator. So what I'm going to do with 2 1/2 and 2 3/4 is create like denominators. So 2 1/2 would be 2 and how many fourths? 2 1/2 compared to 2 3/4. So what I need to do is I need to rewrite 1/2 in terms of fourths. So I could multiply that denominator by 2. If I'm going to multiply that denominator by 2, I also multiply the numerator by 2. So 2 1/2 would be 2 and 2 times 1 is 2/4. 1/2 is the same as 2/4. So what you're really trying to do is compare 2 2/4 to 2 3/4. Now in letter A, they told us 2 1/2 was greater than 2 3/4. So they would be telling us that 2 2/4 is greater than 2 3/4. Well, 2/4 is not greater than 3/4. So therefore, letter A is actually a false statement, and they want to know which statement is true. So letter A doesn't have a shot. Just want to make sure when you think about 2 1/2 and 2 3/4, you have a picture in your head. So 2 1/2 would look like 2 whole circles and a half of another circle. Ugly pictures, but whatever. And then 2, so that would be visually what you think of for 2 1/2. And again, that half circle is so ugly. And then you would look at 2 3/4. So then you'd compare it to 2 3/4. So if I looked at it, that's still 2 whole circles, but now 3/4 of another circle. So 3/4 of another circle looks like that. That would be 3/4 of another circle. And I think visually you can see that 3/4 is definitely greater than 1/2. So that's just a visual to help you support why letter A is false. I'll do one more with you. I'll do letter B. So that's proving A is not correct. Now let's check out B. So B would be 3 1/2 is less than 3 1/8. Again, we would need to have like denominators to compare. So I want my denominators to match. So how could I make a 2 into an 8? Oh, 2 times 4 is 8. If I'm going to multiply that denominator by 4, I would need to multiply that numerator by 4. So 3 1/2 is the same as 3 4/8. 4 is half of 8. So that says 3 1/2 is 3 4/8. Is that less than 3 1/8? Well, 3 4/8 is definitely actually bigger than 3 1/8. So if this says 3 4/8 is less than 3 1/8, oh no, that's another false statement. So I've just worked through A and B with you, and I have shown you that A and B are both false. So the correct answer is either C or D, but you need to work through. Come up with like denominators to prove to your teachers how you know which number is greater or less than the other. I hope that's helpful.